Welcome to Coin Explorer. Imagine holding a small, ordinary-looking coin in your hand, something you might receive as change without a second thought. Now imagine that same coin quietly carrying a story that stretches across decades, filled with mystery, history, and unexpected fascination. Today, we're diving deep into the world of a 1965 United States quarter dollar, a coin that marked a turning point in American currency. At first glance, it may seem simple, even common, but the truth behind it is far more intriguing than most people realize. This is not just a coin, it's a moment frozen in time. A moment when economic pressure, material change, and public perception all collided. And somewhere within that story lies a detail that has sparked curiosity among collectors worldwide. So stay with me, because what you're about to discover might completely change the way you look at everyday coins. The year 1965 was not just another year for coin production in the United States. It was a period of transition, a time when the country faced a shortage of silver and had to rethink how coins were made. Before this year, quarters were struck using 90% silver, giving them both intrinsic and collectible value. But rising silver prices forced a major shift. The 1965 quarter became the first of its kind to be produced without silver, using a copper-nickel clad composition instead. This decision changed coin history forever. People at the time were uncertain, even skeptical about this new type of coin, yet millions were produced and released into circulation. And within those millions, subtle differences began to appear. Differences that today fuel the excitement of collectors. If you take a closer look at this 1965 quarter, you'll notice the familiar portrait of George Washington on the front, a design that had already been in use for decades. The words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" are clearly visible, along with the year 1965 at the bottom. On the reverse side, the iconic eagle spreads its wings, clutching arrows and olive branches, symbolizing strength and peace. It's a design that feels timeless, almost unchanging. But what many people don't realize is that the real story isn't just in what you can see, it's in what you might easily miss. Tiny variations, minting differences, and even rare production errors can turn what looks like an ordinary coin into something truly remarkable. During this transitional period, the U.S. Mint made a unique decision. They stopped placing mint marks on coins from 1965 to 1967. This was done to discourage collectors from hoarding coins. As a result, identifying specific mint locations became more challenging. This added a layer of mystery to coins like the 1965 quarter. Without a mint mark, every piece feels a little more anonymous, a little harder to trace. But for collectors, that challenge is part of the excitement. It invites closer inspection, deeper research, and a sense of discovery that keeps people coming back. Now here's where things get even more interesting. While most 1965 quarters were made using the new copper-nickel clad composition, there have been rare reports and discussions among collectors about unusual examples that appeared different. Some believe that a small number of quarters may have been struck using leftover silver planchets by mistake. These coins, if verified, become incredibly special. They represent a rare overlap between two eras, the Silver Age and the Clad Age. And that overlap creates a story that collectors find impossible to ignore. Condition plays a huge role in determining how desirable a coin can be. A 1965 quarter that has been heavily used, scratched, or worn down will usually look dull and ordinary. But a coin that has been preserved in near-perfect condition tells a completely different story. The shine, the sharpness of the design, and the overall appearance can make it stand out instantly. Collectors often look for coins that seem untouched by time. These coins carry a certain presence, almost as if they've been waiting quietly for someone to recognize their significance. Another factor that adds to the fascination is the possibility of minting errors. Errors can occur in many forms: double strikes, off-center designs, or unusual surface textures. These mistakes are not supposed to happen, which is exactly why they are so interesting. When an error is discovered, it transforms the coin from a standard piece into something unique. Each error tells its own story, a moment when the minting process didn't go as planned. And for collectors, those imperfections are often more valuable than perfection itself. Over the years, stories have circulated within the collecting community about extraordinary finds. Some collectors claim to have come across 1965 quarters that stand out in ways that are difficult to explain at first glance. These stories often spark debates, discussions, and further investigation. While not every claim is verified, the excitement they generate is real. It keeps the community active, curious, and always searching for the next discovery. And sometimes those discoveries lead to surprising outcomes. In rare and highly specific situations, certain coins, especially those with unique characteristics, historical importance, or exceptional preservation, have been known to attract extraordinary attention at private sales or auctions. There are discussions and speculative conversations suggesting that under very unusual circumstances, a coin with the right combination of rarity, condition, and story could reach astonishing figures, even being talked about in ranges as high as tens of millions of dollars, such as $55 million. These figures are not typical and depend entirely on expert verification, market demand, and the uniqueness of the piece. It's important to understand that such extraordinary valuations are not the norm. Most 1965 quarters remain everyday coins with standard value, but the idea that something so ordinary could, under rare circumstances, become extraordinary is what captures people's imagination. It turns a simple coin into a symbol of possibility. It reminds us that value is not always obvious. It often requires knowledge, patience, and a keen eye. For those who are curious about checking their own coins, the process can be both simple and exciting. Start by examining the coin under good lighting. Look closely at the edges, the surface, and the details of the design. Compare it with known examples. If something feels different, if the weight, color, or appearance stands out, it might be worth a closer look. Sometimes the smallest detail can make the biggest difference. Collectors often recommend using magnification tools to inspect coins more carefully. A simple magnifying glass can reveal details that are invisible to the naked eye. This is where hidden features begin to emerge. Fine lines, subtle textures, and tiny irregularities can all provide clues about a coin's history. It's a process that requires patience, but it can also be incredibly rewarding. The story of the 1965 quarter is not just about metal and design. It's about change, economic change, material change, and the way people perceive value. It represents a moment when something familiar was transformed into something new, and within that transformation lies a sense of mystery that continues to attract attention even today. What makes coin collecting so fascinating is the idea that anyone can participate. You don't need expensive tools or special access. Sometimes all it takes is curiosity and a willingness to look a little closer. Coins pass through our hands every day, often unnoticed. But hidden among them could be something worth discovering, something that carries a story waiting to be told. So the next time you come across a 1965 quarter, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a moment to observe it, to appreciate its details, and to consider the history it represents. Because within that small piece of metal lies a journey through time, a connection to a pivotal moment in history, and the possibility, however rare, of something truly extraordinary. And that is what makes this coin more than just currency. It makes it a story worth exploring.